What's up? Today's topic is an interesting one. It's definitely hot right now, and I went back and forth whether or not to say anything, but the main reason that I wanted to come forward and share my opinion is because most of what I see people talking about when it comes to AI and how it's going to affect the creative industry is doom and gloom. And so I felt like it would be worth it to share my opinion because that's not the perspective I have going into this. I see it as just a new tool. You know, it will certainly change the industry, and it may change certain jobs within the industry or eradicate them altogether. But I do not think it's the end of creativity as a career. So let's get into it. OpenAI just released an AI video engine called Sora. When I saw this drop last week, I was mind blown. I mean, the clarity, the resolution, the motion, and downright accuracy are stunning considering where AI video was just 1 year ago. And the part that made my heart sink the most was realizing that this is the worst version of this software that will ever exist. I mean, it'll continue to be improved until it's basically limitless, until it's basically flawless. You know, I've been on Midjourney for a hot second, and what I'm able to create right now in version 6 is incredible. Video is not far behind. So I took a break from social media for a few days afterwards because everything I was seeing was just doom and gloom posting from people I follow within the film industry, and it was downright depressing. You know, I started as a still photographer, and the transition into video and then more seriously into cinematography felt very natural. Filmmaking has always been about story for me, and I've never found anything more mesmerizing and more challenging than using a camera and light to tell a story. You know, it's a craft that I've been working almost non-stop for like 7 years straight to learn and perfect, and other people in the industry have been working for far longer than that. So when a program comes along that is created by stealing what we've worked so hard to learn over generations, and then threatens to eradicate us with it, worrisome is an understatement. I've felt just about every emotion between anger and hopelessness over the last year at this thought, and I wanted to make a video because I wanted to give you hope. Because remember that society thrives on consuming fear, which is why most of the content you've seen around this topic tells you that AI will destroy your industry and eventually humanity as a whole.
Because that's not the way the media wants to take it and spin and turn it into fear, because then you're watching television, you're watching the news, you're being pumped full of fear. There's floods, there's AIDS, there's murder, cut to commercial, buy the Acura, buy the Colgate. If you have bad breath, they're not going to talk to you. And it's just it's a campaign of fear and consumption. And that's what I think that it's all based on, is the whole idea that keep everyone afraid and they'll consume. Mm-hmm. And that's really as simple as it can be boiled down to.
I don't think AI will replace us. And here are just a few reasons why. People want to work with people. Every time I've been hired for a job, it's been a very collaborative process. Creative industries are built on collaboration, constantly requiring new blood and new ways of thinking to innovate and come up with fresh ideas. When you take that away, you end up with hollow, unappealing content that our already short attention spans just kind of blow past. You know, although many jobs have been replaced by robots and AI already, it's still no more than a tool, and it still requires someone or a team of people to manipulate it. So, as much as I love speculating about a future reality like WALL-E or Blade Runner, where we're all just reduced to fat consumption lumps with no drive or passion, you know, run by an evil corporation, I don't ever actually see that happening. You know, I look around my life and I see too many genuine, good people with real lives and real stories and real motives. And our greatest need has and always will be connection. Even money, power, and status are motivated by connection. It's the second greatest human motivator that I can think of, second only probably to fear or our survival instinct. So as long as humanity exists, that innate part of ourselves will never disappear, which will naturally coerce AI and anything else we create into fulfilling that need for connection. The second reason is that true story-based content is at an all-time high. Like 90% of the commercial work that I do is a commercial documentary format. So that means like you get an interview and you interview a real person who either owns or works at a real company, and you interview them or one of their employees or have them record a VO, and then you film content around their business as like B-roll. And the reason this marketing is so effective, I think, is because their audience wants to relate to that business. They want to empathize with the people who work there, and they want to hear their story. I found the stat that I think it was like 65% of people say that their brand loyalty increases when they feel connected to the business that they buy from. And I think this just goes back to our need as humans, our need for connection, which brings me to my third point, and probably the most powerful point. There is supply and demand with content and consumption. You may have heard scientific studies on attention spans before, that our attention spans are like shrinking. We're not as attentive anymore. When I researched it this morning, I actually found that most studies show around 2 seconds as the average attention span of people on social media. You may think that's way too fast to make a snap judgment. Interestingly though, if you search for studies on first impressions of people in real life, I found a Princeton study that found that people can make snap first impressions of others as fast as in 1/10 of a second. Play along here. Let me ask you something. How long have people been making snap decisions on their first impressions of others in real life? One can assume since there were at least 2 people on Earth. So how long has an overabundance of video content existed? Really only within the last 20 years. So if you look at the last 20 years, the amount of readily available content has grown exponentially, and so is its consumption. So as we've reached a point in human history where the demand for content has started to meet its supply, of course our attention spans have decreased. I think what's actually happening is that the amount of people consuming content and how long they're consuming it is educating them on what they find most interesting. It's increasing the consumer's bar for quality, and it's narrowing their focus. So just like how we've become so good at making snap decisions about our first impressions of humans in real life, due to our experience doing that since the dawn of our existence as a species, our ability to make snap decisions about content is also becoming faster and faster the more of it that we see. Here's what I predict happening with AI video. When AI video gets to a place where it's indistinguishable from real video, it'll flood the market because it's cheap and readily available. But at the end of the day, the demand is pretty much the same as it is now. With ever decreasing attention spans, or in other words, ever increasing bars for quality. And what happens when a cheap and readily available product floods the market? Consumers refine their expectations. For the same reason that vinyl record sales are at an all-time historical high, fine dining restaurants can still exist and flourish, painters can still sell handmade artwork for thousands of dollars, and film directors have fan bases. Consumers want real connection with real people, and we dictate the market. We control the demand because we are the demand. And for the same reason that your heart would sink if I told you that this entire video script was written with AI, an abundance of cheap content will ultimately refine what our bar for acceptable quality is, and it'll alter the market and increase demand for connection in other areas of creativity. So where do we go from here? AI will certainly change the film industry. It's basic economics. Just as the job of a switch operator is no more, some jobs within the industry will change, or they may altogether disappear. It'll change the landscape for people who rely on stock video as their primary source of income, for sure. and for certain types of commercial filmmakers. It'll probably affect those markets the most, but it is not the end of the creative industry. The people who thrive as freelance artists are the people who can adapt. Those are the people who will embrace AI as a new tool, not the eschaton. And those are the people who will continue to succeed. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this, and I hope that it gave you just a little bit of hope, because I truly think that this isn't the end for creative industries.